Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Evening with Dylan. We are a little bit late starting up tonight. Life just got in the way. Needed to go and do some shopping errands that unfortunately got me stuck in rush hour traffic on the way home. Who would have thought rush hour traffic on a Tuesday was a thing? Good evening, Fantastic Sherlock Fox. Good to see you.
Hello.
Good to see you. Hopefully your work day was going well. I'm starting out on the trees because, I logged out here just so I wouldn't have a problem and I could put a bed down and whatnot. Figured I would start with a couple of the trees that grew because all three of them had. And as soon as I logged in, I discovered that the building inspectors came, which is not good considering how close I am to the, the castle. So I'm going to try and take these guys a little further away before I get rid of them. Just so that hopefully I don't have a huge issue with raid. Because last thing I want is a raid trying to show up at my castle. It probably would be fine, but yeah, I don't really want to deal with that. Interesting enough, I flew away and you can barely see in the distance. Right where my mouse is, you can barely see in the distance. They look kind of confused as they just sort of meander on their way. So I suppose at this point, might be best to take a bit of a detour, right off the bat, and just take down some of these walls. I wasn't going to spend the time doing that, but hey, here we are. We can see the little guys are taking their time to just leave, so I'm going to squirrel a bit by cutting down some of this wall. They're spreading out and getting a little closer. I'm not super keen on that, but maybe they'll find their way out of here. I don't know. Let's just take down some of these walls while we're waiting, and maybe we can get them to take off a little bit. So today's theme really is we're figuring it out as we go. I had a thought in Bedrock this morning. Technologically, that didn't work. For some reason, we're having a lot of frame rate drops and freezes and weird stuck key type behavior where I could literally put my hands up in the air and still be moving. Mouse was lovely and responsive, but nothing else was. I couldn't get it to stop. I couldn't get it to go backwards. I couldn't kick into inventory while things were moving. And twice I tried to walk into the water beside my island in the Bedrock world, where I would have been coming, like, quite literally face to face with the drowned. So, as you can imagine, that was not high on my list. So until I can sort that one out, Bedrock is temporarily sidelined. Not quite sure what's going on that way. And that was what I was seeing, let alone what was being put out via OBS appeared to be like 13 frames at best, with a lot of freezing, which is very unusual because, yeah, normally the computer doesn't act like that. So I have no idea yet what caused it. But I'm keeping an eye on the frame rates here to see if they stay stable. Thus far it seems okay. We are hearing some Electro Swing by Oddchap, courtesy of Oddchap's free playlist on Spotify. There are plenty of other playlists, but this is the one that he has specifically built as an artist and marked copyright free. So I'm going with that. Got myself into a headspace this afternoon while out and about that I was into really old music, like kind of like ragtime and stuff. I'm not normally into that, but there's something catchy about rag that just caught my attention, or big band type of stuff. You know, the swing arrow type thing. So I figured I'd be into listening to a bit of that, and my headspace was still there when I started up this evening's stream. Alrighty, so let's see, are the neighbors gone? Nope, the neighbors are still hanging out. They're not quite far enough from the trees for me to be comfortable with that. Looks like they're trying to find their way, pathing around it. But in order to... It wouldn't be such a big deal if they didn't have a captain with them with a banner. Because then I would just go and rip a big hole in the wall and they'd be fine. They could find their way through. But yeah, not so much at the moment. So I suppose we are tearing down more wall. So this is the opposite of putting the wall up, clearly, but this section of the wall is not one we're going to be needing. I had enclosed the majority of the map, and then we're going to be making it much, much bigger. That's just going to take time, but I figured, you know, might as well remove some of the inside while we're at it. And I ended up going north instead of south, which is not quite what I intended, but hey, it'll work. Do I have a bed out here? No, I don't. I seem to be starting to litter beds all over the place. So this afternoon's shopping was pursuant to a camping trip that my son and I are taking. We're going to be going backpacking, I mentioned this morning. I have not done this in about, I'll ballpark, about 30 years. So things have changed a lot since then, and some of the equipment is not optimal. I mean, the attitudes have changed, so not only do we have leave no trace, there's a lot more conscientiousness for the idea of backpacking to be a somewhat more commune with nature type of thing, which means that you really don't want your equipment to be sounding like some sort of industrial jet engine. So one of the stoves we have that boils water beautifully, but unfortunately is of an era, or not of an era, sorry, of a style that has been described more like a takeoff of either a jet engine or the space shuttle. Just didn't work for me. Besides that, this particular one has a reason that somewhere along the line, it looks like the base of the stove has been very carefully curved. I don't know why. Maybe there's a story to that my father-in-law might know, but I certainly don't know and didn't trust it because I don't know all the twists and ins and outs to make it to make it stable enough that I'm comfortable. So we went out and we purchased a new stove. I also had to chase down the whereabouts, chase down my tent poles that I had sent in for repair. So it was the 16th of June when I dropped them off, according to the receipt for what I paid. And they said, oh yeah, it'll be sometime early next week. So this is the 16th of June. They said early next week. I thought, okay, we'll ballpark it from whatever date I dropped them off and give them, week and a half. I finally got annoyed when I'm going on a trip Thursday of this week. So this is Tuesday, 2 days hence. Using the tent that I wanted to that I was having the poles repaired for. I have backup poles if I needed them, but using this tent, and my poles had yet to come back. So we're talking, today is the 11th of the following month after I dropped them off, and they said it was going to be a week. I was not impressed. So I went in person. I tried phoning and got a voicemail. So I went in person and just, coming in to check up and see about getting these poles that I had dropped off on. I told them the date, whatever, and they said, oh, well, yeah, here they are. We haven't started them yet. They clearly saw my raised eyebrow. So they said, yeah, give us about half an hour and we'll get, if you've got something to do with in the neighborhood, and we'll get them right done for you. Needless to say, we did go not too far away, but I double-checked before I left to make sure they had my cell phone number and could call me or text me that day as soon as they were done. Otherwise, I'd be back in an hour. They said half an hour, and I said, okay, I'll be back in an hour, and I told them when I'd be back. The guy he called me 20 minutes later after he got in the car and said, yep, found the part we needed right away and got everything done, and it's ready for you to come pick it up. I didn't say anything. We just went and picked them up. But yeah. I haven't had an opportunity to look at the repair. I mean, there's really not much to it. It's just a matter of swapping out the correct tent pole piece, of which there are 2 different sizes in the pole set. So it shouldn't be rocket science to get this one repaired. I just couldn't purchase the pieces I needed. And if it really only took 15 minutes, I'm hoping that means that the stretchy bungee cord inside the poles was still in good condition. because if it turns out that's not the case and it was worn out by the earlier break, when I had specifically asked them to check that, I would not, not be giving them great reviews. Cost is reasonable. I mean, it would only, Canadian dollars, when you're talking like a $300 tent, or well, over $300 for the tent, and then to get things repaired rather than replacing your tent is only going to cost you like 40. I think it was 37 and change or something by the time we got tax in. And I didn't have to pay any extra fee for speed. If I had, I would have been really upset. But in any case, but when that's the case, the costing was reasonable. I was looking at getting it done. Supposedly, it wouldn't have been under warranty per se, but it would have been under, like, the company had a history supposedly of being, or the company who made the tent, let me correct that, had a history of being good at customer service for the poles, so virtually you've got lifetime warranty, because there wasn't really much that a user would be doing that would not be obvious as a mistake, and then they would bill you. But if it was something that was just accidental wear and tear from the weather, the company basically supported their tents. So I was looking at getting it done for free. Problem is, if you do that, it would be shipping it off to another province or distance away. Like, we're north of Montana, so it's like the equivalency of shipping it to like Southern California by comparison, just pure miles. And then once it gets there and they acknowledge receipt, then it's a 6 to 8 week time window to expect to get them shipped back. As a scout leader, this is not an acceptable value. As in, it doesn't work for me. I mean, if you're going to be going, off season on something, as in if you have an off season and you're not going to be using your gear for a while, that's fine. But this off season doesn't exactly exist with scouting. Okay, so we're down to two of these pain in the neck people. Let's just see if I can see which kind they are. Oh, no, flag dude's still there. No good. Let's see. Oh, just give me one quick second to handle something, and I will be right back. Interesting way of letting me know that we're back. So we've got the new Geek Out is showing, oh, not centered, but it's there. Just going to shuffle it just a touch. Alerts, mini games, Geek Out. I can get it just a touch lower. There we go. properties. What do we got? Size, make it a bit narrower. Yeah, we can handle that. Okay. So it's not exactly a great spot, but it'll work. In any case, so the current topic is 6 TV characters with superhuman strength. I mean, we could go through everything in Jessica Jones, which would cover off quite nice and tidy. Oh, one left. Please tell me that's not the banner dude. If it's not the banner dude, we can get rid of him. Are you the banner guy? One of the few times when mapping doesn't help. Okay. Oh, he's hiding around the other side of the yurt. Come on, dude. Show yourself. He's not... Oh, he's not a banner guy. I think we're good. Ow. However, I happen to be here, so why not use the yurt? I'm probably going to have to move the door on the yurt, but we'll see when the final wall comes through. Tis, yes. Well, a robot probably would. Yeah. They don't specify humanoid characters. And Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, the Hulk. What else have we got? I'm trying to see what I could think of for that. Oops, this wall. That's the one I wanted. Yeah, because the Hulk was definitely superhuman strength. Are there other television characters like that? I mean, there's also plenty. It doesn't say that it can't be cartoon television, in which case we've got plenty. We've got, clearly all the super characters. You can just start naming superheroes left, right, and center. There we go. I mean, because then we had Superman, because he showed up in Lois and Clark, which was not one of the major... Oh, wasn't like a DCU cartoon. That was the live-action one. But if we actually are going cartoon characters, as I say, there's plenty of superheroes. Even characters that should not have had superhuman strength, but tended to show it anyways. I mean, once in a blue moon, you'll get superhuman strength out of, like, Darkwing Duck, which you shouldn't, but that's okay. Let's see, 6. Was there ever a RoboCop television spinoff? I can't recall. What else have we got? There was? Yes? Okay. There we go. There's one. I'm trying to start with live action stuff just because it feels less cheaty than just naming superheroes. I mean, it may still be superheroes, but live action stuff. I mean, there's probably some in the, what is that one? There's a series that came out that was all about, like, superhero type teenagers and youth. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, may have had some of that going on in there. I didn't watch that one. I mean, there's also basic things like the $6 Million Man was a TV series. The Boys on Amazon Prime. I'm not familiar with that one. Oh, yeah, if you rule out actual superheroes, of course. Let's say, I'm not trying to rule out superheroes. I was trying to more specifically rule out animated, because they've done a lot of animated cartoon superhero type characters. You know, otherwise you could just start ripping roaring through like the Superman, or sorry, the Spider-Man comic and cartoons as well. You know, they had Batman cartoons. So, you know, name any character you like on Super Friends, and there was at least one or two of them that had strength out of that. I think there was X-Men cartoons too. So I guess we don't have an animated category separating from regular. I was just trying to dodge it, is all. I don't think we got 6, though. So we might have to dodge into the superheroes. I hope it was neither. I think it was actually a TV series. And wasn't the lady version like the Bruce Banner equivalent? Wasn't she like a lawyer or something? I mean, you can, if you're going to count cartoons, we've also got, you know, the He-Man and She-Ra type stuff going on. And She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Oh my goodness. That sounds like something almost as corny as the title of Legal Eagle. Even though Legal Eagle's a YouTube channel that has nothing to do with super strength. Wow. Scary. Scary. Here's another one I never really quite understood. Why some of the superhero characters, both live action and not, they had a bunch of them where the characters' powers have absolutely nothing to do with their physique, and yet they're ripped like they're trying to be a, you know, Mr. Olympia or something from the bodybuilding competitions. It just doesn't make sense to me why they need to do that.
Hello.
Emily McBeal spin-off. It's the hair dry, angry Murphy Brown. Or was it Judge Judy's younger years? Good evening, Yellow, my fine friend. How are you this evening? Good to see you. Yes. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful, just don't make me upset or I'll turn green. It's definitely a different twist on the Wicked Witch being green approach. Can you think of any other characters like that? Superhuman, female or male? I'm trying to think of, are there any old ones? I think if we're talking, even if we're allowing the superheroes, I think there was a live action Flash Gordon once upon a time, which is kind of scary. But I'm not sure if that was on television simply because it was being syndicated, or pardon me, it was like, you know, TV movie aired on television, or whether it was actually designed for television. So I'm working on tearing out this wall, or part of it, I guess. And we'll do a little bit more chopping down of trees. But I'd like to try and play around with something else, and I'm not sure what at the moment. Might be building yet another mob farm? I don't know. I'm not really in the headspace to be building a residence for the abbot of the monastery at the moment. Just my brain's been thinking too much about backpacking to be able to think about, you know, quiet, calm monastery. One of the other things I've been wrapping my brain around a little bit. Power Girl. Sorry, I was like, I misread that as Powder Girl, and it took me a second. It's like, Powder Girl? And I could think of in that vein was the Powderpuff Girls, which is a little bit off-center from what we were talking about. But Power Girl. So, I'm at a point where I'm kind of, how do I put this? Somewhat stasis on the two worlds. Things that are very grindy need to get done, you know, like building lots of wall or chopping the supplies to actually build in the Bedrock world. It's not that I don't have other things to do, but I don't have a lot on deck in the Java world. And the Bedrock solo stuff, while I'd like to burn that by doing it during the week, like I've got, what do you call it? There's a mine shaft that's been located. I've located a stronghold, that sort of jazz. And so while I'd like to do that, while I would like to do that, having tech issues is making it a little bit less likely. I think I'm going to play a just-in-case moment here. I think I'm going to take out the wall to the north around the yurt, because that way if we have any more of the illagers come through, they can just walk their way right on through without getting stuck up against the wall. Oh, I see. That's a bit of a weird backstory, because everything they tell you in this actual Superman story is that Kal-El is supposed to be the last of his planet, but then mysteriously there's a cousin. And in other ones there's a sister. And in other ones there's like some young, not directly related boy. And it's like, it's getting dumber and dumber. And then there's Superdog. Like, who needs Superdog? Really? I don't have an objection to having lots of superheroes, but I don't think we need to have every possible permutation of every possible superhero. Just because one is super, I don't think we need to have clones or, yeah, like some of those Superboy, Supergirl, Superwoman. Some of them were way too similar. I mean, some people even claim that characters like Superman were actually a ripoff of other characters. Which, I don't know. It's all designed to appeal to an audience who just really want to be something other than they are. No idea, Yellow. You're lucky. I can't even get started on that one because I have no clue. Absolutely none. Closest I could get would be to go on about how cheesy it is when they have, on the Super Friends, they had the Wonder Twins. Wonder Twin powers, activate! And then they all became like cartoon precursors to Mystique. It's just, ugh. I don't know. Or another side of the rant I could go with is, we've had Thor as a guy. That's great. Thor has been a male character for eons. The general first gut reaction when people say, who's Thor? Perfect. Guy. Fine. But then, oh no, we had to have a girl version. And I'm not arguing with having a girl superhero who can do some of the things that they do. Don't diss the mod. But, like, I don't have a problem with having a female character who can do things. It's not about, you know, feminism versus not or anything like that. It's simply, my beef with it is that, can people please come up with new characters or new... I know there's a limit to how many characters can have whatever combination and permutation of powers, but when the outfit is virtually the same, the name is the same, and they're doing a lot of the same things, it just, to me, seems like a real tryhard. Even if the actress does a great job in the movies, or even if you end up with a fantastic storyline writer. that's great. It doesn't take away from my dislike of the concept of the character. So yeah. I'm trying to picture. I've seen a picture of Lyric, and I've seen pictures of Benson, like both of them in real life, and trying to picture either one of them in a purple leotard just makes me want to crack up. And I don't think they would appreciate it. Wonder Twin powers activate. But they definitely have a good sense of humor when they get playing off each other. I do like that. As far as I know, they're not, at least in Discord, they don't appear to be the type that finishes each other's stories or finishes each other's sentences. They're not like your Fred and Weasley twins. Fred and Weasley, oh jeez. Fred and George Weasley, or the Phelps twins. Good grief. This is what happens when I'm doing one thing and my mouth says something else. See. I think who else might have superhuman strength. I haven't been tallying to see if we get to 6. I should maybe start a button that pops up on screen that actually does that. So when we get a, 6. I just heard a bloop. Oh, New Geek Out. There we go. Or amusement parks. Yeah, apparently, Fantastic Sherlock Fox decided we either had to hit 6 or it was worth moving on anyway. So we... Amusement parks, let's see if we can get some that are both North American and maybe include some international ones. And I'm going to qualify Disney and Universal because clearly they each have more than one. So that's sort of I'm going to call that like similar in the franchise, not franchise, yeah, franchise concept. Even though that's not quite the word. Chain? No, that's not the word either. Anyway, so we've got Universal parks, we've got the Disney parks. And I mean, you could sort of qualify Warner Brothers Studios London, although that's a very narrow focused thing. Another one that you hear about a lot is a Six Flags. Schlitterbahn. I don't know about Schlitterbahn myself. Where's that one at? And Six Flags, weirdly, is actually another change. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. Though the fact that Six Flags was listed, you guys could possibly be thinking of different locations. Ah, yes, like the Knott's Berry Farm. That's a Cali one, isn't it? Cool. I was unaware of that one. I'm not counting this towards the 4 amusement parks. Although I guess one could say we've just touched on 4. But I'm going to say that we actually have a local one to us, which I find kind of amusing. I know it's an amusement park, but I'm TIS and all that, but we actually have one called Callaway Park near us. It's actually quite small. So yeah, it's very, very local and not well known. But it's funny because, of course, our city is called Calgary. And so it's Callaway Park, literally, because it's away from Calgary. That's really all there is for the name. We used to razz the owners when I worked there about why didn't you think of why didn't you think of a more interesting name? And they were more excited at the time for the fact that they used to have intellectual property rights to be able to design part of their park after the Flintstones TV series. But unfortunately, that expired, and so the park has been very, very slow to redesign itself. It's one of those ones where when you're up on some of the rides, you can see parts of the former rides in storage, which is literally out in a field. So things like they used to have one of those track rides where the track is under a pond, and then you ride around on swans that would just go around on the track. They used to have one of those, and you can see swans out in the field. It's kind of odd. You could also see big strawberries sitting out in the field, like in the farm field, because, like, this is being able to see it from the top of a Ferris wheel, for example, because they do worry a little bit about sight lines. But you can see the strawberries, which it's the same ride as it used to be before. It's just the new version of it has dragons spinning, like Pete's Dragon sort of shapes on it. A West Edmonton Mall is sort of a destination spot here in Western Canada, and they have an amusement park inside the mall called Galaxyland. It's actually relatively small too by comparison. But I guess if you're going to call out Galaxyland, from what I understand, Mall of America has something like that in it as well. Legoland. Ooh, cool. Good point. Good point. And I guess, to some extent, Riverfront Park in Seattle would qualify. It's a bit of a smaller one. I mean, for the next few days, a good portion of our local greatest outdoor show on Earth might qualify. It's got quite a large midway, but I mean, most state fairs would have that sort of qualification as well. I think we've covered off North American amusement parks. I don't know of any in the UK or in Australia. It's too bad we don't have anybody hanging out in chat who'd be able to tell us. So I'll be curious to see what comes up when that question comes around again. Which reminds me, Fantastic Sherlock Fox, one of these days I should go and maybe we can order it. Order another copy of Geek Out for more categories and more information. Because I think thus far we've been getting some pretty good mileage out of this one, and it's earned its money's worth. You know, Amazon Prime Days and all that. Who knows? Maybe they'll have available on Amazon for cheap. Let's see what I got. Oh. Okay. So I refreshed the Geek Out, and we got they want 4 directors who've won an Academy Award. And yes, that typo is mine. It's supposed to be Anne, not and. Somewhere in the autocorrect it kicked me. Tarantino, for sure. Technically Walt Disney for Snow White. Did George Lucas ever win one for Star Wars stuff? I'm not sure. Spielberg, for sure. I keep wanting to think that Ron Howard got one, but part of me says no, he didn't. I thought he was nominated, though, for stuff like Apollo 13. Let's see what we got. Scorsese? Yeah, I can never spell that one. Steven Scorsese, isn't it? Quentin Tarantino was the other one, yep. Steven Spielberg. So maybe it's not Steven Scorsese. I don't know. I'm trying to even think of other big name directors, generally. Did Hitchcock ever win an Academy Award? I thought he did. I mean, there are definitely some that have made a big name for themselves, but didn't actually win an Academy Award for Best Director. Well, yes, though I wouldn't necessarily call it hypocritical. Because he made a movie about the villain rather than focusing on the hero. That's a bit different. I mean, it's like the difference between Let's see. It's like, no, that's not a good example either. Yeah, I'm trying to think of another one, but it wouldn't work. I'm trying to think of Tom Hanks. So if they did a documentary, you know, bad-mouthing a documentary about, say, Fred Rogers, and then went and did his movie about being Mr. Rogers, then that would just be all kinds of weird and awkward. And that's one of those I should watch at some point movies. I'm not necessarily sure either that it shows well to, you know, make a movie about a Joker thing and then be so particular about your performances in there that it assists one of the actors in the film to make the choice to no longer be with us. Like, that's a little bit sketch in itself. That doesn't mean that people aren't sometimes a little more prone to, yeah. So some people get helped in that direction. I would never say it's anybody's fault, other than the person who made that decision themselves. And I don't know. Anyways, that's going to sound really awkward because I really would like to be as friendly as I can to everyone. And some of those views, the way I phrase them, aren't necessarily... How do I put this? They come across sounding worse than I really mean it to, just because I can't seem to, on the fly, to find the terminology I'm looking for. Not all of the words I need to use are at my disposal at the moment. There we go. They're disposal, not disposable. Words are not disposable. In spite of what Lewis Carroll may make you think. As words. Especially verbs. Now they're hard to work with, because you have to pay them extra. Jonathan Winters for the win. I know a lot of people don't like musicals, but if one's into star-studded situations, I would say definitely check out an old version of Alice in Wonderland. Yes, it's a musical. A lot of the lyrics and stuff were actually written by the comedian Steve Allen, but it has some really stellar performances from people like Ringo Starr playing the Mock Turtle. And comedian Jonathan Winters, who some people may have recognized playing opposite Robin Williams on Mork and Mindy. This Jonathan Winters gets to play Humpty Dumpty, and he has a really good performance when he gets to talk about how Humpty Dumpty uses words. And that words mean what he wants them to mean. And then he talks about different ones being more ornery, and that's why if he makes them do a lot of work, he pays them extra. The actress in that one who played Alice, very forgettable, in all honesty. And half the time it looks like if she scratched her head a little too hard, her wig would go sideways. But it was a fun bit of fluff. You know, some classics in there, like you've got Carol Channing and Anne Gillian. So yeah, one of my faves, and I could list a bunch more. I mean, Sid Caesar shows up in there. We talked about old comedy programs I enjoy, like Sid Caesar's Your Show shows. And Sid Caesar's Comedy Hour. So yeah, very biased in that direction. Let's clean up this one. Clean up this one. That's the map here. We just have this southern section to take out, and that's the end of the wall removed. So I might as well do it since I'm sort of on a roll taking out walls. Ah. Crime or legal thriller novelists? John Grisham, I guess? I suppose Arthur Conan Doyle would not be too impressed by being called a crime novelist, but most mystery writers are. A thriller, not so much. So crime or legal thriller novelists. That's the thing, is I'm not really familiar with thrillers, per se. I suppose PD James might qualify in that category. That's not working too well. Let's see, let's try one of these. What do we got? Stick on the ground. Oh. Would you rather speak all human languages or have the ability to speak to all animals? If I could speak every human language, I think that would be my preference. Yeah. I really should put a light gray square behind that. Give me a sec. Where is that? Question of the day. Properties? Let's see if we can get ourselves a background. What color? I don't really like the ones I've got handy. Let's go with this. And we're gonna change it up.
The mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here. And now for the first time.
Playing around with the box. Let's go with that. For now, we don't need it really well, but yeah, it's a bit of... That's a little easier to see, I guess. In any case, I'd rather be able to talk to all human languages, because a lot of the problems we have with animals are caused by human interaction with them. And that is not working. I'm gonna try something a little different. This. Yeah, fine. Whoa, wrong color. Wrong color. That's awful. Lavender? Sure, let's go lavender for now. Why not? Could be worse. Nope, still hard to see. Still hard to see. I'm going to undo those. Oops. Yeah. Undo. Undo. We'll go back to the white and white and we'll sort it out later. But yeah, that's what I would rather do, is be able to talk to all the humans. And it's a little selfish. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean I have to be, you know, a big public speaker, but it would also just be nice not to have to think about it. Being a ultra polyglot, yeah, that's a weird word, would actually be kind of interesting. I think there's a guy who, a business guy who decided that he was just going to go learn languages because he could. And he ended up teaching himself, I think he knows 27 languages. There's like 140 countries, I think, in the UN alone. And not some of them speak the same language. But 27 would get you pretty far, at least to the understanding of further languages beyond that. So there's probably a lot that can't be counted as fully knowing a language, but he can probably read a bunch or interpret a bunch of what's going on and make himself understood, even if it isn't in the whole thing. So I think I'd love to be a polyglot. I think that would rock. Talking to animals, I'm not sure whether or not I would find that all that useful, because I would start to wonder if it would make me feel like I'm stuck listening to toddlers all day long. And certain groups of humans, probably their motivations probably aren't necessarily a whole lot more exciting to listen to than an animal's would be. And I don't just mean, you know, money or something like that, but there's probably a bunch who would say stuff like, you know, we're having fun, and our thing is, rather than chasing down that rabbit, we're going to stand here and, I don't know, see how high we can throw rocks up a tree and just hope that it doesn't come back down and hit us on the head. And it's not just guys. I'll be honest, I've seen girls do it too. So ridiculous games that are kind of dumb are not exclusive to guys, nor is it exclusive to drunk people. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's things like that. So Geek Out is... Ugh, I'm hating this one. Sorry, guys. Hating it. Because I can't even just talk to it. Geek Out. There we go. How do I keep getting the same one over and over again? Choice is rigged. There we go. 4. Who knows Queen? I can tell you Freddie Mercury used to be there. Just about everybody knows Bohemian Rhapsody. But I need 3 more. Anyway. Truth is, one shouldn't use so much, what do you call it? Crutch content on the screen. So I'm wondering, you know, what might be kind of fun at some point is to look at just a randomness type of thing and see if we can do like a Rorschach ink blot test where you get the big splatters and try to decide what they are. That would be different, very, very different. One of the things that I'm still wrapping my brain around is I've had some very, very generous gifting in the past when it comes to 1 month subs and such. And I made a public statement, and I still mean to keep that as a promise, that a huge chunk of that is going to be used. It's sitting in an account right now, and it's going to be used to pay for brand-related materials. So things like user pictures and emotes and that sort of thing. What's stopping me aside from the noisy guys downstairs below me, I keep thinking that I'm right on it, but it's because I'm so close. There's a cave right under me. But what's stopping me from doing that sort of purchase at the moment is simply that I haven't got a clue on my branding focus. So that's what's a big deal. I mean, I've noticed that there are plenty that start with sort of a randomness of whatever seems to fit, and then it just sort of coalesces itself as you go, a somewhat organic thing. Oh, I guess I had a rabbit on top of the wall. Poor rabbit. It just coalesces itself. But I'm not noticing a whole lot of that stuff appealing. Like, we haven't got a whole lot of needs for it. So I need to get myself a new focus for branding. One of the thoughts I'm still working on is coming up with some of my own sketches for ideas, even if I end up paying for a pro to do them up. I'm trying to come up with my own sketching ideas to piggyback off of, and they're not necessarily original ideas. So just working on that sort of thing, and that takes time because I have a habit of talking myself out of designs, so it just needs work. Needs a lot of work. But yeah, so your lovely support has not gone amiss. It's just that I have not gone all the way through with doing things with that lovely support thus far, and I owe you. So yeah. Where'd that go? This over there. That way. All right. That's the idea, is a branding change. You can tell this is only probably 1 block thick into the cave, or maybe 2, because not only am I getting more and more of the sounds from the various critters, but you can even see on the mini-map they're all clustering around my position, but can't get there. I'm pretty sure if I was to try and sleep right now, right down through here, they'd be like, nope, monsters nearby, can't do. And I heard a spider. Yep, definitely heard a spider. Not high on my list. We're not that far off though. Once we get this little gray, say this little gray chunk as it grows, get this chunk out of the road, then we've got that wall done. Okay, I need a break. I'm going to go over here. Do a quick spin around, see how we're doing for chicken. Something random. Sure. Let's cook some chicken. Okay, how many do we have? Oops. 20, 21, okay. I'm gonna squirrel a brief bit, take a break. Don't know why. The spiders, I don't know. Usually they don't bother me, but today, just even hearing the noises is giving me all kinds of heebie-jeebies. Must have been hanging around in here for a bit. Alright, is there anything else to pick up on this side? Yeah. That. This one. Oh. And I'm waiting for, sort of waiting for the chicken to cook, and then we can just take it as our break, take it off to spawn, and just throw it in the free food thing. There we go. I think it, oh no, this one. What do we got? 28? Oh, come on, guys. Let's put the iron away. All right. We'll probably go to spawn pretty soon, just to put things away. But in the meantime, I'll take down a couple trees. Why not? Why not? Do. Seems to like to do this skirt thing now. It wasn't doing that before. Huh. Alright, where are we here? Put that one down. Do its thing. And we'll go back full circle, start where we started off. Go, just full pieces. You know, these look to me a lot like red beets. I think it's kind of a neat possible influence. less than optimal. I mean, not that I can't make more, but inconvenient. Alright, what have we got? Death count's still at 39, so we're not doing that bad. This one down. Here. Huh. Music's getting predictable. Oops, ouch. There we go. I do want the roots. Oh, whoops. Come on. Did I get everything? Really? Nope. Okay, well, that can disappear on its own. Because this one doesn't have to be quite so far away. Okay. So let's go back in and take a run at taking that chicken to spawn because we can. That gets us a little bit of a squirrel away from here and away from the trees. Hey Benson, how are you doing? Were your ears burning?
Hello.
Yellow was talking good things about you earlier. I'm wondering if you and Lyric were the super twins. Conversations can be weird. Chicken, 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 chicken. Nope. Chicken? Chicken. How close are you to being done? You're done. They don't quite divide into 16, but that's okay. Neither do these, but that's okay too. So how's your day been so far? I'm just hoping you had a good one, as good as can be expected. We are still struggling with a little bit of technological chaos, so I'm back on Java and winging it, just sort of doing whatever needs to be done as it comes up. I'm trying to wrap my head around some bigger projects, as in like what to actually do for some bigger projects. In what order, I should say. Let me correct that. I do have things to do, but just what order to do things in is. And where is the attraction, I guess? Dude? That's not where I expect you to be. What have you got? Somebody bought your Nautilus shells, but they forgot to fire you. Okay, well I can take care of that. Fired! There's your... Yep. You don't even get a severance package. We'll take your uniform out of your last pay packet. Alrighty. We're just gonna drop off the chicken and check the mail, and then that will be a squirrel. Use Use disc, give shard equals new ally. Wow, we actually need to give instructions. I would have had to look it up, I'll be honest, but still. I had just assumed that I'm not very good at it. I hear shady lag making redstone clicking. Of course you would. This is a rather redstone heavy zone, unfortunately. All right. What do we have here? It's more interesting. Slime blocks, 3 stacks for a diamond. Yeah, I think it's slime balls, but it's unclear. Like, what have we got? Okay. Not like that would make much difference anyways. I think because that doesn't work. Whoops. See, I can't count.
Here, in a greatly simplified form, we have the 4 elements needed in every timepiece.
But yeah, that's not ideal. That's okay. We'll leave it there. What do we got? 3 stacks. Throw that there. People haven't actually bought feathers in forever, so let's just go. Not. Why not? Where'd that come from? I don't recall where the gold inglet came from. Interesting. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So let's take these. Because I can. Three, 4. This is a rip. 2, 3. I can't count. My brain is not counting today. $14, $15, $16. Sure. Doody-doody-doo. If they're free feathers, I can put them in whatever order I want, because nobody's going to need that many anyways. Four. less mess out of this one. This makes things feel more full, even though it's actually kind of useless in the overall. $14, 15, 16. There we go. Makes me feel like I've done something. I guess really is probably what it comes down to. Not a lot in Minecraft to do with feathers. There we go, close enough. Let's get out of here before I try and talk myself into doing something else. Still don't know where that gold ingot came from, it's just odd. And kind of hard to say that, you know, somebody threw it into my inventory when there's nobody here except Phoenix. And Phoenix hasn't been video bombing. Come on. I will refrain from answering that one. I know it's doable. Clearly, very, very doable. Alright, so we are just checking the mail, and we're heading back to base. I just need to clear my head a little bit. Duh. He can check his own mail. We are out. Out of here. There's word of a stream weekend coming up for the Dadcraft community. I am looking forward to that. I am hoping to, by that point, have... Oh, what am I doing? Whatever. By that point, have come up with some sort of plan for a project that I want to do. So there's plenty of opportunities and plenty of options and plenty of things that need doing at my base. I just need to decide what I want to do. I guess it's at the point where there's enough projects to be done, it's overwhelming. At the same time, there's enough projects to be done that I'm not necessarily finding one that's magnet. I've yet to see the Little Woman one. I was aware of all the rest. Actually, weirdly, I was part of a stage version of the Oliver Twist one, which was interesting to say the least. I got in trouble for taking my brother's clothes and cutting them up, and apparently he wasn't grown out of them yet. Oops. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, yep. And Finian's Rainbow, and what's the other one? I mean, there's plenty. There's like Singing in the Rain. There's two I keep getting mixed up, but oh, I am too, but not super, super heavily. I mean, for example, I've yet to see Greatest Showman, which would be kind of an interesting one to see. And Les Mis, I just sort of collect watchings of those. Having read the book. Or, well, okay, having read a version of the book. I mean, one of these days I'll sit down and read an English translation of the full version of Les Mis, but I'm not really sure. I'm up for like 11 volumes at the moment. I still don't know where that ingot came from. I'm wondering if maybe it was... Oops, not that fox. Maybe it was from a piglin, that, like a zombie piglin that I shot earlier. It was just standing in the archway. I'm taking the kids to Aladdin, yep, which is Broadway across Canada. So that was definitely done as a film musical. Both live action and animated. And honestly, the animated was better. Most of the animated ones are. I mean, Disney really needs to stop making the animated musicals into live action. I'm sorry, but they need a new idea. What else have we got here? I mean, if you're just thinking musicals in general, you can also name off a whole ton of Disney flicks. Because there's like things like Pocahontas. On the one hand, may not necessarily qualify as a musical. On the other hand, they are far more musical than a lot of other things. Okay, where are we here? I was... That's right, it was. Okay, came for these. And I was putting away... I wasn't putting those away. Guess that's it. Alright. The item sorters are doing the thing this week, so I'm trying to avoid building one of those, although that's probably the easiest project would be to tear down these two and build an item sorter for my stuff in here. Or a pair of them. But that seems to be the topic of the week, so I'm trying not to jump on that bandwagon. Let's go and just continue tearing down the wall. I know it's not necessarily the world's most exciting thing, but it's really helpful for me in this world, because then that allows me to work on the exterior wall and the roads without getting super confused. Back to zombies, but at least we don't have a whole load of spiders and endermen yet. And the reason I'm not putting up my beacon is simply because I would be moving along too quickly to make the beacon effort last very long. I'd be out of range of it very, very quickly. I mean, there can be musicals about just about anything, and some of them are better than others. I'm just trying to think how many musicals I've seen recently. Just meaning sort of film musicals. Let me correct that. Chicago, I guess, is one that I don't think made that list yet. I have yet to see Enchanted or Disenchanted. That's another pairing that I know are definitely musicals. But I did see Muppets, which that's kind of musical-ish. Come From Away has yet to be a film. Unless you want to count the, like, filmed from stage to put onto Apple TV. So if we're going to count that, then yes. Movie theater release, not so much, but that definitely works. In a film, just... Here's the other thing is, when they say geek out, and they're talking about old geek stuff, often they're talking about pre-internet streaming, which makes things confusing because some of these categories that we film, you know, as Fantastic Chuck Fox was pointing out earlier today, if you say Netflix, for example, sometimes it's hard to tell whether or not on the original material whether it's a television or a film. I mean, if it's a one-off, great. That makes it pretty clearly a film, I would say. But if it's a television series, some of the episodes are long enough to be like a film chain. And you feel like you're binging, you know, Fast and Furious or something. But if you haven't seen Come From Away yet, I quite like it. part of it is it doesn't have a lot of your, you know, big climactic Broadway-style numbers in it. And is relatively low on dance numbers. Of any real note. There's plenty of people, or plenty of characters that dance, but they're not designed to be good at dancing. So, yeah. But the other thing I like about it is the minimal sets, and a lot of the reuse of items on the set to help build a scene that isn't really there. So one moment something could be a set of cafe chairs and tables, and then the next moment you could be talking about school buses, and people are riding on the school bus, or another moment it could be the same cafe chairs were repurposed and now you're supposedly riding on an airplane and seeing the passengers. So it was a really interesting reuse of things, and a lot of the scenes were set by what was being sung at the time. Okay, this is gonna bug me because there's a musical that I was just thinking of, so I have to look it up. Give me a quick sec. Let's see. Oops, I can't spell. Okay, that's fine. Fred Astaire. Okay, so that's Finian's Rainbow. Gene Kelly musicals. Brigadoon, that's what I'm thinking of. Keep forgetting about that one. So yeah, I kind of cheated because there's a whole bunch of Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire musicals I didn't mention. So yeah, we've got things, I mean, American in Paris is a very popular one. But the one that keeps getting stuck in my head is Brigadoon. And that's an unusual one because it's about a magical village that shows up once a year, I think it is. Or once every 100 years, sorry. And so a couple of characters actually stumble into this world and need to figure out what they're going to do because they start falling in love with characters in the village. And so do they stay in the village and never go back to real life, and the village won't sort of appear again for another 100 years? Or do they find a way to, I guess, be okay with watching the village disappear, knowing that they will never see the people that they developed romantic attachments to in the village ever again? So it's kind of a funky one. But one of the really, really well-known ones with Gene Kelly in it would be On the Town, with sailors going into harbor for the week, and they're spending the weekend on the town. They claim they've got like one night, so they've got to do everything in one night. It's funny, there used to be a heyday, I guess you could say, of musicals, and we don't see much of them anymore. Even things like what's the word I was going to say? Even things like Greatest Showman and such don't make box office bank the way they used to. Like when we did Eddie Redmayne doing Les Mis, I was not a fan of their style. But I like Eddie Redmayne in other things, just not in musicals. That's a rather arrogant opinion on my part. Okay, am I getting around? Oh, I'm getting around far enough that I can see the other wall. That's a start. That's a start. Okay. Let's see how much this wall I can pick up before I run out of space again. Probably shouldn't be holding the tree things at the same time. That's kind of silly. But I never did make a whole lot of sense in the way I was putting things all over the place. I'm not one for much of, what do you call them? Like the project... Oh, shoot. Chest monsters and so on. Never really been for one of those. I do set them out for a while, but there's a sort of a specified distance. If I'm moving a long way, I'll pick up the whole thing and move it with me. New Geek Out. Name 2 sitcoms in which a main character has died. Once or twice? It's has died or is dead. Because, I mean, one of the ones up here, and I think it was viewable in the US, was Due South. And one of the main characters in that is dead. And that's kind of the point. Mad Men? Oh, okay. Actually, I guess we're talking television shows, so in this case, Stranger Things would probably qualify. Or at least up to a point. And without spoilers, because I didn't actually watch the entire series, Fantastic Sherlock Fox did, and he's really good at synopses. That, yeah, up to a point. I mean, one could argue that things like, what's it called? Jessica Jones, they've killed the main character multiple times, or tried to. And the character just keeps coming back, which is good. That's kind of the point. But the character should have been dead multiple times. Let's see. I don't think there's any other ones I can think of where a main character has died. Thing about main characters, sorry, not main characters, thing about, oh, Star Trek. They kill off Tasha Yar. Then they brought the actress back anyways as a completely different character who just had a smaller part from time to time, but the character was gone. So that's one. Highlander series, yeah, isn't that kind of the point? There can be only one. I think, and I could be wrong, but something makes me want to say Outlander. But I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. I mean, I'm not personally familiar with a whole lot where they killed off characters, but that's just largely because I don't handle that well. So I tend not to watch shows that are the type that would do that. Oh, didn't Criminal Minds try that? I think we talked about that before. I think I asked that question before, too. Uh-oh. Well, there's a squirrel for us. We can go get tools repaired. I know Criminal Minds tried to kill off characters multiple times. I know CSI tried to kill off characters multiple times. Little things where, you know, the character died and then, well, maybe they're not quite dead. We brought them back in the series. Rain, rain, go away. Come again another play day. Like to get the ball down. Dylan Russell, tear down this wall. And look a little better than Gorbachev doing it. Sorry for the silence, my apologies. Didn't mean to get hyper-focused. That's really not helping anybody. So let's see what we got. Characters died. I'm going to try a new question of the day. You guys don't have to deal with it if you don't want to. Which engineering technology am I most excited about? Emerging technology. Sorry, emerging technology. I don't know about emerging per se, but developing technology is slower march toward what one would consider smart homes. I'm kind of excited about that. Hey Jen, how are you doing? What am I up to? I'm tearing down the old wall. Good to see you, Jen. Thank you very much for dropping by. I appreciate it. Welcome on in. So I was nattering on and on about random things, but while we're doing that, I'm taking down the old wall. So I'm making the wall much bigger, much bigger, and trying to put in the roads for the area so I can start building houses and such. And having a little bit of trouble visualizing the various shapes without the bigger wall in place. The smaller one was actually distracting me quite a lot. So I'm taking down the wall, and there were not much left. There's just a chunk that you can sort of see in the center of the screen there. The leg down to the right is actually staying. That's part of... I was able to repurpose part of the wall, so I've been working on growing it to its new locations. But in the meantime, I'm taking down the old stuff. What are those items? Stone bricks. What did I drop? There's one. There's two. Okay. Heart monitors. Yes, agreed. You know, actually, emerging technology in that case. One of the ones I think I'm kind of excited about is cellular technology, or different types of cellular cloning. And the example that's sort of an old one, but is still a good example for what is being worked on, is the idea that I guess petri dish ears or petri dish body parts, things like where they can take a sample of your skin for, say, a burn victim or something, and grow that in a lab condition set, and then they can transplant that sample, like that lab grown skin, back onto the person that it came from. And I like that one for reconstructive surgery after injury, for example. Or for things where, let's say hypothetically, so I guess injury is a good one. Or we could even say hypothetically, if we talked about deafness being an option, if one can grow the cells, and our technology hypothetically would let us program them to be what they're supposed to be. Like, for an example, at one point a human ear had been grown on the back of a mouse. I feel sorry for the mouse quite heavily, but it was an example of cells are able to be programmed to be a certain thing. So then the idea, combining these two thoughts with Benson's concept about heart monitors, I think it would be really cool if people who end up with, like, say, issues because of a clogged artery or a valve defect or whatever, rather than having to have something like a stent put in, we could actually potentially clone a portion of that person. Thereby the clone would reduce and or eliminate potential rejection issues. And then, because it would be that the body would supposedly recognize it as that person. This is all hypothetical, of course. But then, so if somebody had a clogged or blocked artery, if they were willing to spend the big bucks for it, then they could potentially get that portion of their artery outright replaced with a cloned version of themselves. So ideas like that I think are really neat. There is all kinds of dangerous stuff out there, and I don't mean just in terms of safety, but in terms of philosophically dangerous as well. So technology can be both good and sketchy. A lot of it depending on one's own sort of philosophical belief system. But I just think it's really neat that there at one day could be possibility that people who've had horrible injuries, pure accidents, things that were not planned, and they could potentially have a lot of their life restored to look and or function the way it did in the past. I think that would be kind of nice.
Suppose that saucer or whatever it was had something to do with this. Their guess is good as mine.
I think monitors don't... I know now, I recognize I'm in a catbird seat here, so please do take this with a very solid grain of salt. And I don't mean to be offensive through misunderstanding. But I don't find monitors scary. I mean, it's frustrating, but I don't find them off-putting. What would for me would be off-putting is if one needed to go straight to a pacemaker, where one needed to have something that was artificially deciding what the rhythm was supposed to be. That's when I think it would unsettle me more than a monitor. But I'm not in your shoes, Benson, so I can't really say with authority, and I really don't mean to be offensive if that came across wrong. And, everybody's got their own opinions about things. I mean, there's people I know that, don't even want to do the temporary testing for things like sleep apnea, where they could actually completely stop breathing in their sleep, or basically choke themselves, because they don't like having the testing equipment on their face. Or they don't want to have a CPAP machine, which is like a constant positive airway system, or positive pressure, to help, it's not just with the snoring, but help make sure they keep breathing overnight. Because they say, oh, the mask is so uncomfortable. Well, yeah, I get that. And I get that there are, like technologies like that are slowly improving over time. For example, I had a distant relative who, well, technically was a married-in, but they needed oxygen at all times. And so in their house, they actually didn't just go with, an oxygen bottle or whatever, tote that around all the time and then have to refill it. They actually had a machine that would basically suck the oxygen out of the air and then shove that down the hose that the lady needed. And she said that it was so frustratingly annoying to have that at all times, all over the place. But on the other hand, she recognized that it was better than not being there. Yeah, no, I can understand that, because culture has become, how do I put this? Culture has become such that people instantly go, what is wrong with you? Either they want to know what's wrong and they want to have the whole story, or sometimes people will pity people. Another one that bothers me a little bit is when everybody, rather than saying, hey, congratulations for getting help, good stuff about getting help so that you can still be here, people get taken down for it and made to feel bad. And that, I sometimes want to, like when I read that or see that sort of thing, sometimes I want to reach through the monitor and throttle the person who's being cruel. But it goes in the same sort of category of things like where you just, I want to deck that person, but you really physically never would, right? Okay, so we've hit the top of the hour. So I'm just going to do a couple more minutes here just to let anyone starting at the top of the hour settle in. I've just seen the huge Stormy Islands come online, and Tuesday is often a stormy night, so I suspect Stormy's playing on the Java server tonight, in which case we will definitely head over there. But I'm just going to let her settle in for a couple minutes and twist over to see that Jen had said, an interesting tech I learned about this summer is telesurgery, A doctor can do surgery on a patient who is thousands of miles away. It's like playing a video game on a patient. I would have concerns about that in terms of accuracy and reliability on the connection. On the other hand, I could easily see that as an emerging technology to be very pleased about, because usually those sorts of things are used in situations where either A, we have the distance issue, so trained surgeons can't get out there, or it's just cost prohibitive, or another option for that is things like, should we have another horrid pandemic or something else similar, a telesurgeon may still be able to go ahead and do some of the surgeries that were put off during the pandemic, because, or even the ones that were done in a safer manner, simply by being able to be fully isolated and run it in a telesurgery format. Particularly now that we're getting things like laser surgery in some cases, or micro tools that are generally robotically run anyways. So would one really need to actually even be in the same room? And that allows for a whole lot of possibilities with regards to sanitation and safety. See, what is it? Just when the hour comes up is when we start getting a really interesting topic. I think I might leave that question of the day up on the screen for tomorrow morning and bring it up again and see where my brain's at that point. But also see if there's anyone who has the time to chat during their workday tomorrow that may have a differing opinion. So it'll be just kind of neat to see. Oh yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do telesurgery off of like a generator in an area where even the generators are unreliable. You totally wouldn't want that. For sure. Or even internet unreliability. I mean, physical wires can be all kinds of problems. So I'm just going to pull down this piece of wall, just more that I need to just smooth it off for my own sanity, and then we will find ourselves the exit. There we go. So we're getting down there. We're getting a lot of the old wall taken out. We've just got this one little V-shaped section here. That's the old wall gone. I can always use more trees. And then in this spot, we're going to move/rebuild the mob farm from under here out in the open. A, it reminds me to do something. B, it just looks like we did something. And C, I can use the practice. And then so we'll go with that far. We still need the walls and the roads. And on this side, we need to have some sort of spring aqueduct feeding the mill, which then will come into a brook that feeds farms, like just generic manual type farms, and a residence for the abbot or the head of the monastery. So those are some of the things coming up. I guess the other thing I could probably put together, if I'm not organized tomorrow morning, would be a projects wall. So Lyric had given me the idea. Where's this? There we go. Lyric had given me the idea of a projects wall that was built by Benson, I believe, in one of their worlds, and sort of like a to-do wall. With the fact that signs are rewritable now, that actually makes it a lot easier for us to put one up that would be useful, and everybody could see what I had claimed I was going to get to. So we can go with that. Alrighty. Let's go this way. Just before all the lovelies show up, let us start the raid over to Stormy's, and then we'll say our thank yous. So I really appreciate everybody who came by, and it's always a treat to have every one of you. So where did I put the button? I moved it. There we go.
What a wonderful time for you to drop by. You know, they're just setting
Mischief managed.
All right, mischief managed. So we're going to head over to Stormy Owl, and wanted to say thank you ever so much to Fantastic Sherlock Fox and Benson for being our moderators today. Also, thank you very much to Yellow for the resubscription. I do appreciate that very, very much, as well as Jen for chatting with us today. So if your name wasn't said and you were just hanging out in the background, I want to say thank you so much. I appreciate it, as always, and we will see you over in Stormy's. Have yourselves a great day, and bye-bye for now.